Shalom, shalom. This is Judah Nick with Awaken Israel, and we're going to be continuing the scripture reading of Deuteronomy. And this will be on a playlist on the channel of Awaken Israel. And yeah, all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, and hopefully this is edifying to someone in some form or fashion or anyhow. So, yep, let's get into it. And Salakia guys, or Yashar, if I cough. I'm not in the best condition, but I still want to commit myself to my scripture reading. So, let's get into it. Deuteronomy 16:1. Observe the month of Abib and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God, for in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God of the flock and the herd in the place which the Lord shall choose to place his name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction. Thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt, all the days of thy life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days. Neither shall anything of flesh which thou sacrificest in the first day at evening remain all night until morning. So sunrise. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. But at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place his name in, there shalt thou sacrifice the Passover at evening, and at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn it in the morning and go unto thy tents. 6 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread, and on the seventh day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. Also, if y'all didn't notice, 6 days you're meant to work, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath. So, Scripture does correlate with itself, just minor tweaks based on feast days. But yeah, let's continue. Verse 9. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto the Lord thy God with a tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are among you, in the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to place his name there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days. After that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God, in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase, and in all the works of thine hands, therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. So the Lord blessed us for keeping the commandments. Hence, same thing happens in Deuteronomy chapter 28. When we didn't keep the commandments, he cursed us, and when we kept the commandments, he blessed us. Well, let's continue. Verse 16. 3 times in a year shall all the males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the first of the weeks, and in the feast of the weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God, which he hath given thee. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons. So don't have a preference over someone, maybe because they're your friend or anything. Neither take a gift, for a gift blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. In other words, don't take a bribe or anything, any thought of bribe. Verse 20, that which is altogether just thou shalt follow, that thou mayest live and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And thou shalt not plant thee a grove, or any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image which the Lord thy God hateth. So idol images the Father did not like. Chapter 17. Thou shalt not sacrifice unto the Lord thy God any bullock or sheep wherein is blemish, or any evil favouredness, for that is an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Also, the Father didn't want us to offer any sheep with blemish. If you guys pay attention to scriptures, you will know that the Messiah, or aka Yahushua, was referred to as a sheep, and he had no blemish. Why? Because he did not sin. And was he made an offering? Yes, because he was a sacrifice for Israel. So scripture ties into itself once again. But let's continue. Verse 2, if they be found among you within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, man or woman, that have wrought wickedness in the sight of the Lord thy God in transgressing his covenant, so his agreements, which should be the commandments, and have gone and served other gods or worshipped them, either the sun or moon, or any of the hosts of heaven, which I have not commanded. So for those who worship the sun and the moon, the Father says we are not meant to do those things. And I should also get a precept to add on to that, if I can find it real quickly, to help edify. If I can find it. Okay, this is Acts 7 and 42. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen for now. Actually, you know what? I might as well show you off real quick. Where is it? Acts chapter 7 verse 42. And before we read the script, we're going to read the other script one more time. Thou shalt not, no, where is it? Verse 3 of Deuteronomy chapter 17, and have gone and served other gods, and worshipped them, either the sun, or moon, or any of the host of heaven, which I have not commanded. So if you didn't know, the heathens like to worship the suns, the moons, and XYZ, and pagan gods, right? But this is what the Father says in Acts chapter 7 and 42. Then God turned away and gave them up to the worship of the host of heaven. So the Father handed them over to worshiping what he did not like. As is written in the book of the prophets, O you house of Israel, have you offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? So the Father didn't even like us offering these things that was meant to offer him, because we're doing them through pagan traditions and all that. But I shall get another one. 1 second, Salakia. Where's my... Okay. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 4 and 19, I believe. Let me double check. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, should be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all the nations under the whole heaven. So once again, they worship the ordinances that were up in the heavens, which was the sun, the moon, and the stars. The Father was telling us not to do those things. And let's go back to Deuteronomy. Verse 4. And it be told thee, and thou hast heard of it, and inquired diligently, and behold, it be true, and a thing certain, that such abomination is wrought in Israel. Then thou shalt bring forth the man or woman which have committed that wicked thing unto thy gates, even the man or that woman, and thou shalt stone them with stones till they die. At the mouth of 2 witnesses or 3 witnesses shall he that is weary with death be put to death, but at the mouth of 1 witness he shall not be put to death. The hands of the witnesses shall be first put upon him to put to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So thou shalt put the evil away from among you. If there arise a matter too hard for thee, in judgment between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within thy gates, then thou shalt arise and get thee up into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt come unto the priests, the Levites, and and unto the judge that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show thee the sentence of the judgment. And thou shalt do according to the sentence which they of that place which the Lord shall choose shall show thee, and thou shalt observe to do according to all that they inform thee. According to the sentence of the law which they shall teach thee, and according to the judgments which they shall tell thee, thou shalt do. Thou shalt not decline from the sentence which they shall show thee to the right hand nor to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel. And all the people shall hear and fear and do more presumptuously. When thou shalt come to land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou shalt possess it, and thou shalt dwell therein, and shalt say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee. Whom the Lord thy God shall choose, one from among thy brethren, thou shalt set king over thee, that thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. So, for Israel were never allowed to have heathens basically being in charge of us. The only people who were allowed to rule Israel was Israel. And that's in script, as we have just seen. Hence why Yahushua, also known as the Messiah, will come back and he will be the king of Israel, because he comes from the bloodline of David. That is the only way he would be allowed to rule Israel, because he comes from Israel. Let us continue. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, you shall henceforth return no more that way. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them, that his heart be not lifted up above his brethren. So that's a reference to pride, and that he not turn aside from the commandment to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in the kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel. Alright guys, last chapter for today anyway. The priests, the Levites, and all the tribe of Levi shall have no part nor inheritance of Israel. They shall eat the offerings of the Lord made by fire and his inheritance. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. Slakia. Therefore shall they have no inheritance among their brethren. The Lord is their inheritance, as he hath said unto them. And this shall be the priest due from the people, from them that offer a sacrifice, whether it be a ox or sheep, and they shall give unto the priest the shoulder and the 2 cheeks and the more. The first fruit also of thy corn and wine and of thy oil, and the first of the fleece of thy sheep shalt thou give unto him. So, for those who don't know, this is also a reference to tithes, and it was meant to be for the children of the Levites among the children of Israel. And the tithes are food and basically livestock. It was never currency, so it was never physical, tangible money. So if you go to a church and they say hand over your tithes or give 10% or give some offering or whatever, and they say the Father said one of you was generous, that's a lie. That's a blatant lie. So tithes are for the Levites, and trust me, these pastors are not no Levites. But hey, and once again, it was only food and livestock. But hey, let's continue. Verse 5. For the Lord thy God hath chosen him out of all the tribes to stand him to minister in the name of the Lord, him and his sons forever. And if a Levite come from any of thy gates out of all Israel, where he sojourned, and come with all the desire of his mind unto the place which the Lord shall choose, then he shall minister in the name of the Lord his God, as all his brethren the Levites do, which stand therefore before the Lord. They shall have like portions to eat, beside that which cometh of the sale of his patrimony. When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. Thou shalt not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire. So the heathens used to offer up their children as a sacrifice to their fake gods. But let's continue. Or use of divination, so any form of sorcery, or an observer of times, so another form of sorcery, or an enchanter, or a witch. We don't want to do any of that stuff. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. The Father said we're not meant to do any of that stuff. For all that do these things that are an abomination to the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God hath done. And because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out before thee. So the nations beforehand got driven out of the land because they were doing these stuff that the Father did not like. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God, for these nations which thou shalt possess hearkened unto observer of times and unto diviners. But as for thee, the Lord thy God hath not suffered thee so to do. The Lord thy God will raise up thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brethren, like unto me, unlike unto him you shall hearken. So we're only meant to, Israel's meant to listen to Israel. and not any heathen, according to all that thou desirest of the Lord thy God in Horeb in the day of assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Lord my God, neither let me see this great fire any more, that I die not. And the Lord said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren like unto me, and I will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto me all thou shalt command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will requite it of him. But the prophets which shall presume to speak a word in my name which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if thou say in thy heart, How shall we know the word which the Lord thy God, the word slacker? I'll read that all again. Verse 21. And if thou say in thy heart, How shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. But the prophet has spoken it presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him. And so, if it doesn't come to pass, Father let you know, he wasn't one of his. So, hopefully this is edifying. This will be part of the playlist. There is other scripture, leave Exodus, Leviticus, and we're currently on Deuteronomy. I think there's also Numbers on the channel, a playlist